I wonder if people answer very quickly to this. It's hard. This is also a difficult one. GSEA in one word is opportunity. Opportunity because it's the beginning of many things. I'm Pol Villaverde. I'm 23 years old and I'm coming from Barcelona. We are Palumba EU, and essentially what we do is we are a tool to mobilize young people to go voting. We believe that democracy and its lack of participation by young people is one of the main challenges that we're facing as humanity, and we try to tackle it by reconnecting young citizens and their democracies in more engaging ways through a mobile app that got viral in the context of the last European elections in 2024. The idea came from many places, I would say. So I have a personal background in both worlds, a bit of the digital world. I've been a mobile app developer since I'm 14, doing all sorts of mobile apps, like 12 of them, especially in the gaming sector, with more than 1 million users. But that was not fulfilling enough because I've always had a passion as well for the world of politics, democracy, and social impact. And now it's sort of like a Venn diagram where both things are coming together. And therefore, there was a bit of a frustration from the political side in that the tools and strategies to mobilize young people to vote are sometimes paternalistic, but also they have a lot of problems when it comes to them not being aligned enough with the present times, particularly with the digital transformation. And so we got together a summer with people who were like-minded and who were also very highly engaged in associations, in youth organizations, in student entities around Europe. And in several forums, we developed this idea that we should do something innovative and in the digital world. So that's how the idea came about, because we shared the same worries across Europe, really. That's actually Palumba. That's the pigeon. That's our mascot, and it's quite funny because we had a conversation more than 1 year ago where we were trying to find a name for what we were doing, and there in the background, right as now, there was a set of pigeons doing their funny noises, and we started researching into them just because we were bored. We were tired of brainstorming. And we find out that this is a pan-European species of bird, so it belongs to all over Europe, exactly the place where we wanted to develop the app. That it's called Columba palumbus in Latin, and we merged it to Palumba, which is a funny name, but one that is easy to pronounce in many languages, as we need it. And then, you know, the bird, the pigeon, is something that you see in your everyday life, very much different from what you sometimes think about politicians and politics. You know, they seem to be something very far away, very fancy, wearing suits and disconnected from reality. And the pigeon is what's the most connected to reality there is. And of course, it can be funny, even if it's a bit dirty. It can be quite a funny mascot to have. And it was our best friend when it comes to communications.
I'm passing the pigeon to someone who doesn't know how to vote yet in the EU elections.
I'm passing the pigeon to someone committed to fighting climate change.
Passing the pigeon to someone who believes that the EU should invest more in youth.
I'm passing the pigeon to someone who has voted in the last EU elections.
I'm passing the pigeon to someone who is using the Palumba app in the next election.
I'm passing the pigeon to you. Use your vote.
We didn't know where to start, we didn't know how to find the money, and we didn't know whether it would be feasible or not. And so we started working online in a lot of meetings between summer of 2023, and then the thing started becoming real. We started with a very small prototype that we could test and play a bit around. And then we went full-fledged, and we got lucky that some entity trusted us for the first time. In a way, they were our first supporters, which is the European Youth Card Association. And after that, we started to get invited into different events and to see that we were embedded in the right ecosystem with the right kind of partners. We are coming close to the threshold of 200,000 users in total after the European elections, because we are now deploying the app in the context of the upcoming German elections. And so during peak times when there's an election, we are like a dozen people working on it, some part-time, some full-time, in various tasks, whether it is more political science research, whether it is coordinating with stakeholders, whether it is more management or treasury. And that's a bit like the big picture of how we are structured. And of course, app development, which is probably the core thing that we do. I think when it comes to challenges, I could cite 1,000 of them, but there's a couple of moments that really stick with me. One is recently the difficulty to coordinate such an international team and align again, after some time of discrepancy, our vision about what we want to do. That was tough, but I think we are managing. And then another moment that really sticks to my mind is about our launch event. I totally remember that moment in front of 200 people where we had to show that the app was live. But actually we had a problem with the emailing system, and therefore I was on stage and I was about to announce that people should check their emails and see if they could open the app, and I didn't really know if the thing would be working or not. But I did the leap of faith, partially because I truly believed in my team and they had done an amazing job, and indeed the app worked, the system worked, and people in the audience, including the press, they could download the app. Actually, I have never thought of being an entrepreneur as such, and I have my reluctances about the bubble of the entrepreneurial world, but I do see that there's some things in it about its ambition, about its thirst for innovation that can be positive in the other world and actually the world where I belong in, which is the world of public policy and public administration. So now I'm doing a master's in SciencesPo in Paris and Columbia University in New York, all about public management, government, and how to make our public administrations more efficient, but also to have more inclusive social programs and increase the ambitiousness of social policy. And sometimes this world is put at odds with innovation, whereas I think that both things need to be reconciled, and there's room to do innovative things in the public sphere and in the public sector. So in a way, it has come very naturally to me that both things overlap, even if sometimes it seemed impossible. If I had the chance to talk to myself, retrospectively, back in time, I would maybe say two things. One, more superficial, which is invest more in communications, put more time and possibly money into spreading out the word. And now that I know what works and what does not, we would do things probably a bit better. But then secondly, care about the team. The people behind it and the people who put in the hours and volunteer need to feel well about what they're doing. And sometimes it's easy to overlook such things because you're focused on the impact, you're focused on the mission, and you forget about underlying relationships, which are kind of important. GSEA, if I'm honest, I didn't know much about it. I Googled it after I came across it, I think, through an email by my university, but I'm not even sure anymore. And it seemed first like a cool opportunity to travel abroad and to see people who I may have wanted to meet earlier, in the sense that they are going through similar things. And with some projects I have nothing to do with, but with some other projects that, for instance, are working on improving the state of the roads for city municipalities, projects that have a social impact when it comes to the health sector. All of these projects are really interesting, and it's inspiring to listen to people who are part of them. And of course, the prize and the prize money for us, it could make a big difference. As everything, entrepreneurship is what you make of it. There's ways and ways of doing things, and in my view, there can be a toxic way of doing entrepreneurship. There's sometimes projects that are not the best even, and it's a field where there's a risk to fail, but also there's a risk to not have such a fantastic social impact. However, this is not necessarily something embedded in the fact of starting up something new. It's not necessarily like that. And the way I see it, there's also a lot of potential for it to be an encouraging journey, one that brings together people who didn't think similarly to begin with, but who are aligned behind a mission. And this view about aligning diverse people behind shared visions that go beyond themselves, that's among the coolest things there are.